So Sean and I are with Smith Group. We are a pretty large firm. Started in 1865. We're actually the oldest continually operating architecture firm in the United States. We have about 10 offices. You can kind of see them sprinkled across the country, including, or sorry, we actually, I think are 13 offices now, including one office in Shanghai. Super proud of our work and our growth, and all of those other metrics. We practice across a number of different building types. These are our kind of focus areas. While we're not highly constrained to any one area, these are our kind of our expertise and focus areas. So you can see there's a really nice mix between anything from museums. We've done a lot of work with the Smithsonian and some of the national galleries over the years, healthcare. We do a lot, especially here in our Dallas office, we do a lot of work with higher education. As I mentioned, we are working on the UT Arlington campus right now, and UT Dallas, you name it, all over the state and all over the country with institutions of higher education, science and tech research projects. We also do corporate interiors. We have urban planning, a very diverse group of architects and engineers, and we'll talk about that a little bit more here. We are regularly ranked as among some of the top firms in the industry. I won't toot our horn too much there, but we are a major player in a lot of different market sectors. But I think we're really proud that it's not just quantity, it is quality. And we've been recognized for some of that design work, both within the architecture community by design award programs locally, nationally, internationally, but then also some outside, some sort of sources outside of the design industry, like Fast Company and among others. Sean, you want to grab this one?
Yeah. So, a really great part of Smith Group is our sort of breadth of services that we offer. Looking at the practice across the nation and internationally, we have a lot of different disciplines and focuses that we provide services for, and you can see the list off to the right, kind of going through all those. So, architecture and engineering, we're an integrated firm, but we have all these smaller disciplines within those that are, really focused on creating, the most impactful design that we can. And so there's, when we go to do projects and work on particular things, we have all of this expertise to pull from, anywhere from building enclosure consulting, building forensics, energy modeling. We do some historic preservation as well, landscape architecture, we do in-house, engineering, we do a lot of programming, kind of larger scale site planning, sustainable design is a real huge a part of what we do. And then urban design as well. So we really kind of cover the whole full gamut of services that are available and really strengthen us as a A&E integrated firm. You can move on to the next slide. Yeah. And kind of to go along with that slide, I think Smith Group really promotes, maximizing design thinking and promoting design thinking experts. And so the whole intent there is really fostering innovation and having people pursue the paths of what you want to pursue in your career, and let people go where they necessarily want to, spend more time or be a little bit more focused on. That allows us to really have a unique group of individuals that can pull together and kind of generate a very comprehensive set of experts that we can pull at any time if we're working on specific situations. So Smith Group is, great at really promoting kind of individualizing your efforts and focusing on things that you seem interested in, and really offer kind of the breadth of what we do on a day-to-day basis. And a big part of it, being an architecture and engineering firm, we really, you may have heard the term little a, little e, or big E, little a. We're really trying to make that something where that is not the case, right? Engineering is super critical to how our buildings operate on a daily basis. So we put as much emphasis on engineering as we do architecture. We have a great engineering discipline for our company, and they're individually, they win a lot of awards. We do, high level caliber of work. Lots of our projects feed off of the information that they provide us. And so, it's great to have that as a continued sort of integrated practice that we work with on a daily basis, because it's super critical to delivery of, very high level buildings and successful design. Yeah, and with that, integrated design is super critical with, BIM modeling and just the level of delivery that we have to provide in the sort of practice today. It's super critical to have that connection with, all of the disciplines within architecture and engineering. Just really allows us to work together easier, have a closer knit team where we can have informed decisions and really design things well together in a way that we're integrated and, we can work together to pull those things together.
Yeah, and I think we are really proud that we're not just recognized as, for our architecture, we are recognized for engineering and across all scopes. This particular project is a project that was out of our Dallas office, open within the last couple of years. I think it's somewhere around between 14 and 20 design awards. But the fun part of that is that it spans the gamut of all the disciplines. So we've had, of course, architectural design awards. It's won Lab of the Year, was recognized by Lab of the Year for the lab planning inside of it. Engineering, we won a couple of ASHRAE awards, lighting design. So I think the fun part is whenever we can do all of that together really well. So it's not just one component of the building or designing the architecture and then sort of passing it on to the engineers to apply the ductwork or apply the lighting, but it's holistically designed really thoughtfully, and that leads to a more integrated solution. I think this kind of speaks to that overall topic, that it's not just about aesthetics or how the building looks or a flashy image, but it's about how it performs. And that would, of course, tie into engineering, but also sustainability. We have been leaders in sustainability for, well over a decade now, including, I think, either the first LEED Platinum building, I believe, over at Chesapeake Bay. Of course, now we're getting into net zero with a couple of clients here, and of course, many LEED projects, gold, silver, platinum. The DC water project, which was on the previous slide, actually the first project in the United States to actually get heat and energy from a sanitary sewer. So an innovative solution. There was a large sanitary sewer line underneath the site, and our engineers had the idea to actually capitalize that. It produces a significant amount of heat, and so the building actually draws energy from there to help power the building. And we do think at all scales. So we have urban planning in-house. We have master planning. We do a lot of campus master planning. So we sort of inherently think, even though we might be working on a small piece, whether that be in addition to a building, we're sort of thinking about the big picture. So that ties into our thought process. What is this thing? How might this site grow down the road? Might there be an expansion down the road? Could this be a much larger city down the road? So we're thinking kind of long-term, future term, to hopefully use all the resources most wisely, and also set our clients up for success. So I mentioned we do a lot of higher education out of the Dallas office. We have a workplace studio, and so that in turn includes new office buildings, core and shell projects, as well as interior finish outs. And we also have a healthcare practice that's kind of emerging and starting to get established, but you can see we work through it with a number of clients like Children's Health and UT Southwestern here locally. Sean, I'm going to tag team you in on this one again. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for for us, on a day-to-day basis, we look for not only just doing the best buildings, but having really great clients is a big part of that success. So you can see from the list here, it's pretty extensive, and the opportunities that we've had from really great clients, and that leads to project success and doing really cool things that we all dream of and want to do on a daily basis. So you can see here we work with a number of large groups across the United States, from healthcare and all the different disciplines that we discussed, and a number of other universities, just high end. A lot of these places are people that are at the top of their business and at the top of their industry, and so that really allows us to do top level work along with the clients as well. I think one real key feature about the Dallas office, we're an extremely big company as far as architecture and engineering comes. The Dallas office has a unique perspective on that because we are one of the smaller offices, but I think that really does allow us to have a little bit more of an office culture that we're a little bit tighter knit, which is great. And, across the different offices as well, we have a really great office culture and studio culture as well. What we really focus on is, we like to work hard, but we also want to spend time with each other outside of work, and, develop relationships with people that allow you to just have better relationships when you're working on projects, and, enjoy some time outside of the office as well. So we really try to get out and do as much recreation things as possible. I know last year put a little bit of a damper on things for most of everybody, but in the past and in the future, we love to have events after work where we might go into whirly ball or top golf, or bowling, or any other items that we might do. But we also do a lot to volunteer and give back to the community. So I think those two things are really critical. We've done Hearts and Hammers, a number of other volunteer opportunities. We do Construction every year, donates a lot of food to the North Texas Food Bank. And we also do, other opportunities like Trains at North Park and things that we've done in the years past to volunteer and give back. And a big part of our office is a number of UTA alumni as well. So you can see here, we've got the 5 of us that are all from UTA as well. So we're a talented group of people, and we know how good UTA is as a school. So just wanted to kind of highlight, we've got a lot of people that have come from the same place that you are, that work currently now in the Dallas office.
Hey, so just wanted to briefly share the project that we worked on. We started it actually right about a year ago. We had our first kickoff meeting on campus in person, and that's when the lockdown started. So we delivered this project with the facilities management group and the 2 colleges that are represented by this building, completely virtually, and continue to operate, in a large portion virtually. But of course, construction is inherently in person, so that's starting to progress on site. If you haven't heard about it, this is the School of Social Work and College of Nursing and Health Innovations building. It is on the south side of campus, just on the north side of Mitchell Street and West Street. So this is actually that intersection there. So just want to share a little bit about the project, and we've got a short animation to share with you. So that's the site. You can see the SEER building here, Pickard Hall, Life Sciences building, and currently a parking lot, or at least at the start of the design, that's since been removed. The charge from the campus was to really partner with the SEER building to kind of make a southern gateway to campus. So as you're coming up Cooper Street, of course, being a main drag in the city of Arlington, wanting to present the campus on the southern end. And so we started with, a mass that that would address and sort of present itself that way. And then also very cognizant of kind of the urban edge that's already predefined by the existing buildings along West Street. So Pickard Hall, the parking garage, and then north have kind of created an urban edge and a pedestrian scale that we wanted to respect and acknowledge. And so that we begin to do that with these bars and connecting the bars. This was also something kind of outlined by the campus to create a quad, which was naturally done by these two masses that were starting to come together. And then we had some real practicalities on the site in terms of utilities. There were some major utility lines serving large portions of the campus, as well as Johnson Creek there. So we began to formally make some moves that honored the creek and sort of maybe even presented and addressed a little bit more dynamic view to the south, but then also just got us out of the way of these utilities. Just as you'll find out, reworking major utilities are not only very expensive, but they're very disruptive to, you can imagine if buildings had to go out on campus for a time period to rework those. So there were some very practical moves. And then on the west side, we were sort of hemmed in by utilities on that side as well. But I think probably the most significant form driver for this building was a recognition of the pedestrian flows coming across campus and coming across the site. So as you may know, if anyone parks in, I forget, is it lot 41, but it's basically the eternal sea of parking on the south side of Mitchell Street there. If anyone's parking there and entering campus, it is a lot of people. So we wanted to really think about the campus arrival experience and receive that traffic, not only on the pedestrian bridge. We understood from campus pedestrian kind of traffic counts and analysis that there's actually a heavier traffic volume coming through right at this intersection. And so that became a major form driver to not close off that corner, but to actually break it on the ground plane, receive that traffic flow and allow them to come into that quad space. And so that's how the form began to stack up, connecting those two separated bars on level 2, the third floor, and then on the third floor, starting to make a more prominent gesture out towards that corner to kind of engage that corner and really strengthen that gateway move. Internally, we had kind of this common thread of pulling that pedestrian volume into the building. So we have these common spaces, and that began to articulate a little bit itself for me. You may pick up in some of the imagery that we share. But on each one of the floors, even the upper floors, we have kind of this similar central element at the hub, which is really a collaborative space for students and faculty to come together and interact. So of course we have all the things that you might expect, which would be laboratories and offices and classrooms that you would expect in an academic building. One thing that's a little bit unique is that there's, if you know the simulation, the smart hospital and the smart lab with College of Nursing, those are relocating here. So some very specialized environments, but really a prioritization for spaces where students can interact and students and faculty can interact together. So we got an animation here, and hopefully the fidelity will be good. We're going to try it out, and I'll try to narrate over it. Actually, let me see if I can share it without the audio. Is everyone still hearing me okay?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, great. So this is coming in from the south. You can see Pickard, our building, of course, here on the right. This is that breezeway element that I mentioned. So the traffic can really be received up through the breezeway. There's kind of those almost two lobbies, kind of a big lobby, a big commons area, and a small one. And then the traffic can get pulled through into this quad space and on into the campus. This is the main common space, which is really a flexible, interactive space, partnering with this forum that you see in the background. It's really 260-seat classrooms that can flex into about a 200-seat auditorium. So this is the east facade along West Street, if that's not confusing. And this is one of those collaborative kind of knuckles. So you've got great northern daylight into the quad space and views into the quad, as well as some of these outdoor terraces that we've integrated. We do have one tiered classroom, which is also kind of a unique element in the building. There's a lot of nursing simulation, the skills labs. These are some patient room, kind of hospital simulation spaces. And then this is coming from what we've kind of coined Maverick Landing, which is right where the pedestrian bridge dumps you off over Mitchell Street. We have a little common space, which is kind of more research oriented, that partners with the SEER building. And then this is just a couple of views of some of the nursing spaces. Student lockers there for the nurses. That was a skills lab previously. School of Social Work has a big footprint. It's their entire enterprise relocating here from the north side of campus. So their faculty offices, they have some simulation environments, a clinic, a pretty diverse program for School of Social Work. And of course, the quad space is meant to be an overall campus amenity. So that's kind of the dime tour of the building. And this is some imagery that we produced for the campus here recently to aid in fundraising and just sort of generally sharing information about the project. So with that, we won't talk anymore about ourselves, and we'd love to hear from you if you have any questions. I don't know if any came through in the chat, but this is your time. We're here for you.
So far it looks like my question is the only one that made it through the chat. So I'd like to remind everyone, we had some stragglers come in. If you have any questions for our friends at Smith Group, please feel free to ask them, type them out in the chat, or speak out also if you have a question. So the question that I typed in was earlier in the presentation when you were sharing about the different services that Smith Group provides. Are those various services sort of divided in different departments, or do you have professionals who specialize in these services that are kind of spread throughout the office?
Sean, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So as far as the specialists that we have in those services, I think each office, some of them have a particular specialization in those things. So, campus planning is like up in our Ann Arbor office, but we have a couple of things spread across different offices as well. We have some specialized fire protection engineers in the Dallas office, and we've had a number of professionals as well that operated within those services in Dallas. I think for us, our big driver is, and why we're successful is that, we have those specializations, but we work very well, cross office. And that's something that we really try to promote, is that, we're Smith Group employees, and all those services are there for you to utilize. But yeah, some of them are different locations, but definitely can draw from them at any need.
Okay, neat. So we had a couple more questions come up in the chat. The first one is from Hannah. She asks if the building that you just presented, is that the first building that Smith Group has done for the UTA?
Hannah, it's the first project we've done in a really long time, and it's the first significant project we've done that I am aware of. So our firm was actually used to be called F&S Partners, Fisher and Spillman, and it was acquired by Smith Group probably around 9 or 10 years ago, before I started at the firm, actually. And I think Fisher and Spillman did maybe the building with the art kilns, ceramic kilns. It's some sort of like a little annex building, not the main art building, the fine arts building, but sort of a little annex building somewhere on campus. But I think that's the only project that I'm aware of that predated this one. So it's been a while since we worked on the campus. We're excited to, and of course, as alumni, to get to work on it.
Yeah, we actually did the Summit building as well, which was our first, which was the architecture building for a long time before the new architecture building was built. So that was another F&S partner building.
Okay, neat. So our next question comes from Jacqueline. She asks, if, or she asked, how involved are interns when it comes to the design process? And if I may, Jacqueline, also pair to the end of that, um, what additional things do, or does your office involve interns in? Are they sort of on a single project team, and do they work, say, throughout the summer on that same project team, or do they have the opportunity to go between projects to get a varied experience?
I'd say it varies, but I'll give one example because we have a current UTA student working on this project with us. He interned with us last summer, Vincent Versio Ochoa, and he's been great. And so he jumped in pretty quick and dived in, and he actually produced the diagrams that you saw on the screen there, concept diagrams, and was involved in the design and worked hand in hand with myself. And he's since stayed on in a part-time capacity, but we've hired him as an employee while he's finishing up his studies. So I'd say it varies, to some degree, but there's the internship program is actually really great. It's educational. There's a number of sort of class components where we teach the interns just about the practice of architecture and the multifacets and components of it. But then you're working on real projects and contributing in a meaningful way as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. Marone, since I see you here on camera, do you want to ask your question in person?
Yeah, I can do that. Let me get the chat room up. So this question is for both Sean and Randall. Could you describe your daily routine at Smith Group? What is your role at the company, and what is the company looking for in employees? Like looking for, what are they projecting? Are they looking for a certain type of students? What the skill sets are looking for? And this necessarily doesn't have to refer to next summer, but maybe in 1 year, 2 year, 5 year spans.
John, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Yeah, so I'm an associate with Smith Group. I'm in the architecture discipline, and I think our company is looking for people that can not only just like fit the mold of what we would typically find as an architect, but like we had sort of shown in the beginning, we're really looking for design thinkers and people that can operate on multiple levels. So really are given the opportunity to explore and research and do the things that we want to, and that sort of adds to the breadth of Smith Group's experience. So I think we're constantly looking for individuals that have interests in all sorts of areas of architecture, and that just helps kind of build a very multifaceted group of individuals that are all sort of focused around doing great design.
Yeah, and I'm a design principal. I've been kind of in that role for about maybe 1 to 2 years, or sort of transitioning into that role. I've worn a lot of hats historically, which I really enjoy. A lot of the projects I worked on from the pursuit, so all the way from the interview, and then carried it all the way through construction. So that's something I've enjoyed doing. And as Sean mentioned, Smith Group's been, for me, a really good company in terms of asking like, hey, what do you want to do? And kind of letting you do that, as long as you don't screw up too bad. Empowering you and giving you the opportunities to work in a manner and in what you're interested in, what you're passionate about. So yeah, so that's a little bit about I guess us, and yeah, I guess you asked what our day looks like. Man, it varies so much. This last week, I interviewed for 2 projects, and that actually involved a little bit of traveling. Some of that's starting to happen in person again. And so I did a little bit of travel for a couple of projects that we're pursuing. And today, we're, getting back, flew back Tuesday night, right back in on Monday, kind of catching up on, or Wednesday rather, and just catching up on all the project work that we have going. We've got this project is got a kind of really close to wrapping up the documents we had an early release package to start construction, but we're in a scramble here the last 3 weeks to finalize all our design documents and get those completed. And then we got a research building at UT Southwestern. It's a partnership with UT Dallas that's just finished up design development and is just starting construction documents. So a lot going on, especially in our Dallas office. I know Sean's working on some exciting work in Houston.
Yeah, I would say our daily routines are a little bit different, I'd say, than what we're used to with all of the pandemic things. So we've been, spending the last year getting used to working, as many of you guys are doing the same thing, working through the web. And so, I would say, our pre-COVID, our daily routines, really involve kind of just, going about your normal meetings and day, but we also do a lot of things within the office to try to just collaborate as much as possible. We'll have design crits and opportunities where, you're having exchanges with people, just to kind of casually go over projects and, opportunities to, we do kind of in-office events as well. Just, have sort of things to keep up with people. So I'd say it's a lot different nowadays than it was previous, but we're all learning to adapt.
Sean's definitely one of my go-tos to bounce some ideas and get some feedback on whatever I'm working on, and occasionally he asks my opinion too. So
if I may follow up that last that last question, would you mind describing that you'd mentioned that your office has made this transition to a virtual modality? Could you tell us a little bit more about how your office is functioning? Is it all virtual, or do you have employees beginning to return to the office? How is that working?
Yeah, we currently right now, I believe we have a fair amount of people that are back in the office, and starting to transition that. So we did sort of, depending on the time periods, we were slowly transitioning people back with the percentages that we could provide. So we have people that are still working in the office and a number of people still working at home or doing some form of part-time. And then up to now, we're still sort of slated to kind of look at our June date is when we're going to sort of reassess whether we're headed back to the office as a whole or not. But, I think Smith Group's, a little more flexible. We have a lot of opportunities to be able to kind of flex work, and we have people that are, travel from office to office, and we have very flexible layouts in the way that we work. So, it was sort of a little easier for us to make the transition to the virtual world, just because so many of us already sort of dealt with that in some way, either by traveling or, just having flexible workstations for people to kind of come and go as needed.
Right. Adhan, I see that you're on camera. Do you want to ask your question? Well, you have several questions here. I'll let you ask those.
Yeah, I do. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So I have 3 questions. So this is kind of like multiple choice. So the first one is, with so many interdisciplinary services, how are your ideas managed and implemented without leaning too hard towards one direction? And then the second one is, this is just out of,
if I may interrupt, let's perhaps answer one by one, because I feel like
okay.
they take it to very different
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, I'll go ahead and answer this one, Randall. For us, I think we really like to kind of cast a broad net, right? So the idea is that we pull as many people to really kind of offer interesting design solutions. And that's one great thing is that, everybody has an opportunity to kind of put forth ideas, and the best ideas win, right? So I think what that really does is that we may have an idea that really gets refined by other experts and other people that have understanding in this particular area. So I think that's really kind of our approach, is that we have, as many perspectives on how to solve something, and that gets out as many opportunities as possible. And then we just kind of refined and distill that down to the best ideas. So that's really kind of our intent.
Unless you had something to add, Randall, Adhan, do you mind asking your next question?
No, I
Yeah.
thought that was great, Sean. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess this one is more pertained to individuals that have graduated from UTA. So how does it feel having a hand in the physical molding of a school you have previously attended? That's just out of curiosity.
Really good question. It's a little bit daunting, honestly. I'm thinking about, man, I'm trying to remember all my profs who are actually still there. But you know, like, oh shoot, are they going to be judging my work here? So there's kind of an aspect of that that's been there, but I mean, at the same time, really exciting. I think, you know, to kind of speak candidly, you know, we were pushing the campus to do a few things that may not have been typical for the campus, and striving to really make a more engaging building that was not completely the norm. And they came along, to their credit, they came along with us on at least some items, and some items we maybe pushed them a little bit too far, and they pulled us back, and that's part of a natural dialogue with any client, honestly. But it's been exciting. I think we really proud of the building we produce. I mean, with the users. I mean, this was very much programmatically and formally driven by our conversations with the faculty, with the students. We had some student user groups that we interacted with. So this is a design that we arrived at with the client together. And so yeah, it's a really good question, Adhan.
Yep.
Yeah, if I may interject here yet again, I believe I'm in the graduates program now, and I'm in my final year, and I'm taking this structures course that's being taught by, I believe he's a
Seth Carlton.
Seth. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he had mentioned that he had worked with Smith Group on this project. And,
He's the structural engineer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to say small world, and that when you were describing about the things that you were pushing UTA or the campus with, certain design decisions, it reminded me, he gave a comment about the project in one of our classes saying, yeah, like at one moment there's this, you know, pretty substantial cantilever in the project, and that was something that wasn't very typical, but it was something that Smith Group, or he basically just categorized Smith Group as being one of those firms that pushes the envelope a little bit more when it comes to design. So I just wanted to share that he was giving you all that compliment.
Yeah. No, thanks. Good. Good. I'm glad he's talking well about us. Yeah.
Don, perhaps we missed over your second question there, and I figure many students would be interested about modeling software. Don was asking about the diagrams shown in the presentation, but perhaps it could be opened up to, you know, more broadly across all your projects. What sort of software does your office typically use when it comes to design?
Well, on the diagrams, good eye, it is SketchUp with a InDesign or Illustrator overlay. So yep, that's what I'm. Vincent, I think that was his workflow process on that. I mean, we use a lot of different tools. It's, in some ways, it's becoming more and more diverse. Revit is a go-to for production and for documentation. I would say that's been, I mean, we've been an entirely Revit house since I started over 8 years ago. So AutoCAD is waned. We have a couple of civil engineers and some of our coastal engineers that's still kind of their go-to. But without belaboring that maybe list too much, Rhino, Grasshopper, you know, a lot of computational design is starting to work its way more and more into our work. Energy analysis tools, of course, rendering and visualization tools, Lumion, V-Ray, historically.
Even some, yeah.
Yeah, Sean, you want to just pile on a number of, I mean, I'm glad you guys are asking, because, you know, this is sort of a certain list that you can kind of help to sell yourself as you're letting your skills be marketable, right? So
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, we do a lot of our sort of initial work in SketchUp or Rhino, and then like Randall commented, V-Ray and Lumion, and also we do some work in Unreal Engine and Twinmotion, which are kind of coming out as a kind of newer adaptation of visualization. So we do pretty much everything across the board, I'd say.
Pen and trace paper. Yeah, that too.
Yep, and that too. Yep. Good old trace paper.
Don't forget that. Next question comes from Jorge. Do you want to, I think it's a good question. Do you want to ask your question, Jorge? I see you on camera.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So I heard that you mentioned focusing on the light coming in, and talked about the facade and importance of like taking these elements of how the sun is going to be adding to the structure itself. So not just thinking about just the structure, but like also all the elements that surround it, and sort of implementing these like interaction with creating these spaces where you have people interacting. And I just wanted to learn more about maybe other projects that you have that focus on this, or is this something that you always strive for in every project, or what? Where does that come from?
I'd say this is a super common and consistent thread in the majority of our work, almost across all practices. And fortunately, it's in the last 6 to 8 years, it's become way less harder of a sell to advocate for more natural light, to advocate for just a more physiologically pleasant environment, controlled daylight, a sense or a better sensitivity to circadian rhythms and just the physiological human experience, right? And so we have some clients who are more receptive to some of those concepts, might even go as far as natural ventilation and opportunities for that. But I mean, certainly even on the project we shared, a lot of natural light in the building. In the classrooms, we don't have a lot of dark, closed off, walled off classrooms. And in fact, I think just about every classroom environment has windows and glazing. And certainly the office spaces have, access to natural light. And it's kind of a nice democratic approach to not sell anyone short for their experience in the building.
Great answer. Next question comes from Laura, and she asks, do you have any international employees or interns on your team? And perhaps I could open up a bit more. Have you ever had any international employees or interns at your office?
John?
Yeah. The answer is yes. Yeah, we've had many international employees and those that have basically come from other countries, basically working here. We definitely have a lot of that across the firm. I know we mostly work with as far as interns with local universities and stuff, but there's nothing to say that we would not have any interns come from any international universities as well. Just kind of typically what we've seen in the past. But yeah, we have a pretty great, I'd say, diverse group of people that we continually work with and have helped sort of work here and also help transition, getting citizenship and working through any of those things going on as well.
Marone, you have another question here. Do you want to ask that also?
Yeah, sure. I was asking, yeah, I guess I can summarize it. Are there any programs that are kind of unique to the industry today that are, are calculating heat loads that maybe you guys use, or that maybe you heard that maybe your friends in another firm are using, what is typical in the US and internationally? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Those programs that you have, you cut the plan and model, and you see kind of like this gradient from red to blue and indicating where the building is kind of experiencing, tons of sunlight versus not, where dark spaces are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, Yeah, we use a number of programs in-house. Vasari is one of the programs that we pull from, as well as a number of other programs connected in with our Rhino Hopper, Grasshopper connection. But we've got a computational group that is pretty heavily involved in those sort of studies, as long as with our engineering group as well. But yeah, we have particular staff that they're running those sort of energy models and doing those calculations, helping us design more passive designs to our facades, looking at, solar heat gain, like Randall had mentioned in that example for DC water, really looking for these bigger picture opportunities, like, using heat restitution from, the sanitary sewers in order to supply the building. So whether it be coming from the engineers or from our people that are a little bit more focused on those calculations, we've got the software to do it, and really try to make that a part of our integrated design.
Ladybug would be one plugin that we'd be utilizing, I think, with some high regularity. And I'm not an expert on that, so I'm sort of hoping I'm not. There's a lot of honeybees and ladybugs and things like that over there.
A lot of animals in the Rhino environment.
Yeah.
But yeah, also our crew has written some custom plugins for Grasshopper, one that is an analysis tool for outdoor comfort. So it analyzes kind of wind velocity and as well as heat gain to really make sure that as we're starting to have these outdoor terraces or plazas, whatever it might be, that they have they're comfortable being, year round. So.
And perhaps I'm just going to end up doing this with every question, having follow-ups to each question. But as you were describing that, Sean, you had mentioned that you have a team of people who focus solely on, or maybe not solely, but primarily on computational design or computational design tasks. Are there other departments like that you have? Because we've heard, say, for example, other firms, they perhaps have a team dedicated to visualization, animation, and things of that sort. Are there departments that are focused solely on those things, or is the computation design sort of a unique scenario, and then stuff like visualization can happen throughout each of the project teams?
Yeah, so what we have, our sort of infrastructure in our company, we have a group that's called the TIP group, which is our technology and practice group, and that is sort of like an overall overarching group that contains visualization, computation, design. There's a list of other groups that are really focused on project delivery, visualization, computational design, all those little particular specializations and what we do on a daily basis. And so I'm part of the visualization group, and I know Randall had been part of the computational group for a long time, and as well as the visualization group. But we have individuals represented in each office that are kind of the downloader of information, and we share kind of cross-office ideas on what's the cool thing we're working on now? Here's this plugin or the script that we wrote for, how to solve this thing. And so we continually kind of meet every month, and then, it's sort of tasked to download those things to the office and, just kind of keep an open conversation. But yeah, we have particular groups that are sort of focused on kind of staying on the cutting edge of those sort of groups and parts of technology that, really require you to spend a lot of time and kind of stay honed in on.
Yeah, that's exciting to hear that, it seems like a lot of the good firms, they're investing in like this technology or emerging technologies initiatives throughout their practice. And some have, like you mentioned with Smith Group's TIP sort of initiative, that's something that is on the forefront of the company's mind, and that's something that y'all are cognizant of. So it's just exciting to hear that coming from a student who kind of casually hears about these different softwares. It's always exciting to hear how the profession is wanting to utilize those and move them forward. Let's see. Well, I don't see any additional questions in the chat, but I did have a couple of my own that I'd like to ask if no one else has any. We did have a couple people drop in late, so I wanted to perhaps return to this conversation for those who have missed it. But do you mind reiterating where the Smith Group office is located, and also about how many employees are in that office, and perhaps if you could also pair with that about how large are your project teams in your office?
Yeah, our office is located at Mockingbird Station. We're about 5-minute walk from the DART station there. And if you don't know where Mockingbird Station is, it's about maybe 3 DART stops up from downtown. So yeah, I take the train to work, or at least did before this last year. That's we're an office about 55 now. Does that sound right, Sean?
Yeah.
Project team sizes are really very project specific, right? I mean, we have some projects that are, a 15,000 square foot office renovation. We have some projects that are 200,000 square foot lab building, right? So, you'll deal with projects. You might be the main person, almost the only person drawing on it. I did a little courtyard renovation up at University of North Texas last year. I think I pretty much drew the entire thing. And then then we have teams like, UT Arlington is just, there might be a couple people working on it that I'm not sure I've ever significantly talked to, right? On one of the engineering teams, our team has talked to them, but it's just a large team. There's a lot of experts, a lot of people working on it concurrently. And so it takes an army to kind of bring a project to that size together.
I'd say, like, looking at our offices across the nation, I think, our 2 largest offices, our headquarters is in Detroit, and we have a larger office in Washington, D.C. So I think those offices are up in the couple hundreds, if not 300. So those are kind of the bulk of our employees are. And then I'd say kind of Phoenix is a little bit larger than us, but is kind of another
125, 150, something like that.
Yeah. And then the rest are kind of similar to us, where we've got kind of a smaller group of people.
LA's really grown. I want to say they're about maybe 100 now, 80 to 100. And then we have a little office that kind of spread off in San Diego. It's kind of a little baby office right now, maybe 4 people. So we've got it's a mix. And one of the things I like about it, why I moved over to Smith Group about a little bit over 8 years ago now, is small office, big firm. So being in a smaller office, you get the opportunity. You sort of kind of have to do a lot more because we just don't have as many people to kind of distribute. So you get to, if you like doing a lot of different stuff, it provides the opportunity for that. So.
Yeah, that's always great to hear. And I would say that for those in the audience here, that isn't the case with every office, where perhaps the office is a relatively, moderate size. I would say from your description, you would probably classify Smith or the Dallas office at least like a medium sized. But at the same time, you have the resources of a larger company, whether that's employees, specialists, or resources that help with professional development. So sounds like it's a unique or a great quality of Smith Group. And we're approaching our last couple minutes here, so I did want to ask this question for those students who are interested. Usually the months of February, March are usually like the recruitment period for a lot of architectural firms. I just wanted to pose the question, is Smith Group, at least the Dallas office, still in that hiring process where y'all are still looking for potential new employees or interns? Has that time already passed? If so, when should students try reaching out to your office if they're interested in applying?
Sean, do you know where the internship application is at?
I think that we are starting to kind of already pull that together. So I think we've got, I don't know, I would go and check and make sure, most of our career opportunities are all available on our main website. And then I think we're still accepting applications for the internship. I believe so. I know that we're supposed to have a number of them coming in to review. So I can't confirm that or not, but I would go and check if you're interested. And then as far as hiring, yeah, those types of things would be available online as well. But I think we're always looking for talented people, and anybody that's interested. It may not be the specific time now to do so, but we're always looking for talented people, and kind of keep a group of people that we can reach out to should anything come up.
Right. Well, that's great to hear. And so as our guests have mentioned, if you are interested, I would highly encourage you to visit their website to see if those opportunities are still available. But clock has just struck 1 p.m. and I want to be mindful of our guests' time today. So I want to say on behalf of AIS and UTA and our architecture students here, thank you, Randall and Sean, for spending some time with us to share about Smith Group. I really appreciated that. A good portion of today's event or today's discussion has been, just casual conversation about the work that you do, and I think it's always great to hear from people in the professional world just describing what it's like. So thank you both, Randall and Sean, for spending some time with us here today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Well, y'all have a good afternoon. And if you missed any part of the session today, we have it recorded and we'll be posting to our YouTube channel if you want to go back and review some of the things that were said. But thank you, everybody. You have a good day.
Thanks, guys.